Hello and welcome to Newswheel with me, Rachel Alego Ubani. As calls for the reduction of the benchmark lending rate deepens, some analysts have predicted that the Monetary Policy Committee may leave the rate unchanged at the next meeting scheduled to hold today, Monday, and tomorrow, Tuesday. Maritime Securities report made available to journalists says while the growth argument might support a reduction, the overriding objective of price stability suggests otherwise. A report points out that on a balance of factors, the MPR will be retained at 12%. They, however, added that a quick look at interest rate levels in the economy portrays a downward trend. They also note that the decline in oil price and production raised concerns of a decline in revenue estimates, risk of a wider fiscal deficit, slowdown in growth of external reserves, and further weakening of the exchange rate. Representatives is investigating the alleged sharp practices in the remittances of tax to the federal government by some commercial banks. House Committee Chairman Finance Honorable Abdul Mumuni Jibrin, who disclosed this, said the probe will verify claims that 23 designated tax collecting banks were not remitting monies collected to the federal government. Jibrin said that the dual roles of banks as tax collectors for government as well as being taxpayers created some gaps that must be bridged. He said that earlier investigation of some federal agencies on internally generated revenue has led to additional remittance of 100 billion naira. Similarly, the Central Bank of Nigeria says all deposit money banks in the country are now International Financial Reporting Standards compliant. The Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability, Mr. Moghalu, made the declaration at a financial services forum organized by the Ernst & Young. Moghalu, who was represented by the Director of Banking Supervision, Mrs. Tokumbo Martins, added that the Central Bank will continue to bring to the barest minimum the challenges facing the financial sector in the country. It will be recalled that the Financial Reporting Council issued a directive to all publicly quoted companies to switch fully from the Nigerian Generally Accepted Accounting Principles to IFRS in their 2012 financial results. The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, under the State Development Loan Scheme, has recovered about 5.7 billion naira out of 11.24 billion naira non-performing loans it granted real estate development companies from the National Housing Fund. The head Corporate Affairs FMBN, Mr. Dawuda Yusuf, said with the 5.7 billion naira recovered, the bank is still giving out loans to developers. In 2009, the bank published the names of corporate bodies linked to prominent citizens as debtors who had refused to settle their different liabilities. The EDL facility was granted to private developers, state housing corporations, and housing cooperatives to produce mass houses by the FMBN at 10% interest rate with a maximum repayment period of 24 months. However, many of the listed companies and individuals had faulted the FMBN figures and the classification of the loans as non-performing, arguing that there were many factors which the bank was aware of that made repayment problematic. Speaking on the effect of the debt recovery on the housing sector, the Redan president said it is now easier for developers to access the EDL and construct houses. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that the total value of electronic funds transfer in the country has risen significantly to about 80 billion naira per day. The Deputy Governor of Operations CBN, Mr. Tunde Lemo, disclosed this in a statement at the weekend. Giving a breakdown, Lemo explained that the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System recorded over 20 billion naira daily transaction by value, while the Nigerian Electronic Funds Transfer had about 60 billion naira transactions daily. NIBSS provides the infrastructure for automated processing, settlement of payments, and phone transfer instructions between banks, discount houses, and card companies in Nigeria. It is owned equally by all licensed banks in Nigeria and the CBN. Discount houses operating in Nigeria also hold substantial shares. A statement issued by NICOM on Friday said the purpose of the memorandum was to help maintain efficient, safe, fair and stable insurance markets in Nigeria and the United States for the benefit and protection of policyholders. Both NICOM and the NIC believe such cooperation will enable them to regulate the industry effectively and entrench international best practices. The Commissioner for Insurance, Mr. Fola Daniel, and President NIC Commissioner, Louisiana Department of Insurance, Mr. James Donnellan, signed the MOU on behalf of both parties. The Nigerian Ports Authority says as from tomorrow, Tuesday, only people with electronic port pass or means of identification issued by the approved authorities will be allowed into the ports in Lagos. General Manager Western Ports, Ms. Adenike Shonaike, said this in Lagos in a statement on Friday. She said the measure became necessary to check the influx of people at the ports. Oshinaike added the step is taken in line with the provisions of the International Ships and Ports Facility Security Code. According to her, the port is a security area where only authorized persons are allowed to operate. She, however, promises all genuine port users of their safety and security in the course of their transactions at the place. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, is soon to reveal the big names behind piracy and crude oil theft syndicates in Nigeria. Its Director General, Mr. Patrick Akpobolo Kemi, told journalists at an interactive session at the weekend in Abuja that the agency has in custody some vessels seized from those perpetrating the illegality. Akpobolo Kemi also dismissed insinuations that NIMASA has been having running battles with security agencies in carrying out its obligations with respect to the nation's maritime assets. The Director General explains that the agency enjoys robust relationship with all security agencies, particularly the Navy, which he said has a representative on the board of NIMASA. He, however, said where the agency has been having some trouble is in the area of prosecution of those arrested for violating maritime laws.